We're digging deep and asking the questions we need to ask.
Years of stress, and not just emotional. I was depleting my body. I was malnourished.
I'm working out like crazy. I'm eating all these healthy foods. How could I not be well?
We have to get back to the basics.
We can change the way our genes are expressed.
Anyone that wants to improve their health or upgrade their health, they should be biohacking. My name is Renee.
And I'm Lauren. We are the Biohacker Babes. We're sisters, and we're joining forces to empower you to become your own biohacker and upgrade your life.
The Biohacker Babes podcast aims to create insight into the body's natural healing abilities, strengthen your intuition, and empower you with techniques and modalities to optimize your health and wellness. Because life is too short to not feel your best every single day.
This podcast offers health, fitness, and nutritional information and is designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on this information as a substitute for, nor does it replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any concerns or questions about your health, you should always consult with a physician or other healthcare professional. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 23 of the Biohacker Babes. I am Lauren. I'm here with my sister Renee, and we have a very special guest today, Pam Gold from Hacked Fitness. We are so excited to have you here, Pam. Thank you for joining us.
So psyched. We're going to have so much fun today. I know it.
Yes. So as I said, Pam is the founder of Hacked Fitness. It is a biohacking gym. Well, New York City's first biohacking fitness studio, which is so exciting. I met Pam about 1 year ago, and actually thanks to Renee. Renee, right, you saw a story on Ben Greenfield's Instagram page working out on an AirX machine and said, "Where is this? You have to go. Do you know about this?" And I said, I don't know, but I will find it. I walked in, and this magical relationship started. I walked in, and Pam just had her arms open wide, hugged me as if I had known her for a lifetime, because that is the angel that she is. Such a warm, loving, amazing human being, which is why we are so happy to have her here today. We're going to go through her amazing bio and then ask lots of questions, and you can sort of give us all the magic.
I'm chatty, so I'm sure we'll have a really interesting path today.
Yes. All right, so here we go. So Pam Gold, again, is the founder of Hacked Fitness, NYC's first biohacking fitness studio, sharing the latest fitness and recovery tech and holistic coaching, and creator of Peace Power Parenting, a 4-week online program that provides a practical training for parents, synthesizing behavioral, social, emotional, and spiritual intelligence. Her first book, Find More Strength, 5 Pillars to Unlock Unlimited Power and Happiness, was a #1 hot new release on Amazon and provides a simple, practical path to inner strength. Pamela has been passionate about mind, body, and spirit optimization from a very young age. An overachiever from the start, she grew up on a farm in upstate New York, attended Yale University as a microbiology and biochem major, and then moved to NYC, where she supported the growth of a restaurant chain from 18 locations to over 100 and was the point person on an IPO, all by the age of 24. After becoming a mom, she became passionate about physical fitness and wellness and founded Fulfill Fitness, specializing in personal training and nutrition coaching. She then spent 2 years as president of the Beacon program, an NYC behavioral therapy-based food and weight clinic. Hacked Fitness, which is the gym she owns now, represents what Pamela sees as the future of fitness, the convergence of science and tech to give us the next generation of evidence-based evolution.
Yes, that's a lot.
Amazing,
well done,
amazing. So, Pam, just to sort of transition, we know that you are an amazing mom, an amazing entrepreneurial mind, businesswoman, and a biohacker. I'm so inspired to be in your presence at all times. Just to get started, what really attracted you to this kind of work? I know you're very spiritual. Can you sort of give us an entryway into?
It's so funny. You know, I talk about this a lot, and it really, you look back at your life and you can kind of see how the things at the time that just seemed so random and all over the place, and then you look back and you're like, I see the common thread in all of this, right? Like in the bio, you talked about how, I was always passionate about optimization. Like I always had this love and drive for life and this curiosity. I always wanted to figure everything out. I told the story this morning actually to a client that I used to get in trouble a lot. I was not an easy child. And there was one time my mom came in to the room and I had taken apart the vacuum cleaner and I was sitting there with all the parts of the vacuum cleaner, and I got in trouble and put the vacuum cleaner back together. But, it's just always the way I was, is that I was really like, I had this joy, curiosity. I wasn't risk adverse, so I definitely would get in trouble. But like everything, when I look back, I always wanted to be of service. I always wanted to help people. Like I was the right hand to really high level executives, and that's how I got to learn from them. But I could care for them day to day, and I was good at it. So I was a waitress. Like I've done so many things over the years, but the common threads were being of service and then really trying to figure out how to crack the code in this whole be the best me I can be. And then once I figured it out for myself, share it, with others. And so that's kind of how it all fits together.
I love that. Just not being afraid of anything. Have you ever read Strength Finder?
No.
The book?
No, that's not true. I have it. I haven't read it. I've used the tools in it.
Amazing.
Yes. But I had a really hard time with that because up until this last year, actually opening up Hacked, they go through and you have to like figure out what your top ones are. And I was like, this is going to sound slightly egotistical, but I'm good at so many things. I've always been a jack of all trades, master of none. So I had a really hard time figuring out what the things were that were my real natural strengths. And it's over the last year at Hacked that it's become really, really clear to me the activities that, even though I'm good at them, they kind of drain me of my energy versus the activities that I'm good at. But at the end, I'm like even more lit up and even more passionate. And because over the last year, I've had to do a lot of heavy lifting in all these areas being an entrepreneur, it's really become clear, oh, wait, no, that sucked me of my energy versus the things where I like have brilliant conversations with people like you. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And I'm like, who else am I going to be today? It's like, I'm a people person. I love authentic connection and conversation and, sharing inspiration and learning from people. And then like kind of, again, sharing the inspiration, but, motivating my team, having a really deep rooted culture and supporting figuring out systems to make sure everything gets better and better. But I'm not the best at those like nuts and bolts, really executing the details. I can do it because I've been doing it my whole career, but really I've realized that's not what I'm best at. So that book really is an awesome tool.
Yeah, that's so empowering to just know yourself and know what you're good at, because that's how we better the world, right?
Yeah.
To show up and do what you're best at and not drain yourself or kill yourself trying to be something
right
else.
And then also too, just trusting it all, because like if I hadn't kind of thought that I was good at most things, I probably wouldn't have been bold enough to just start a bricks and mortar New York City business, which is not for the faint of heart.
Oh gosh, definitely not.
A lot of strain,
really impressive.
Heavy lifting involved, and yeah. But I've grown, so yay, I'm growing.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So I love
that. I love that concept of like having a strength that also feeds you and energizes you, and not feeling guilty if something is draining, even though you may be good at it. Maybe that's not where you should spend your time.
Yeah, and that
it's a good point.
It's funny that crystallized. There's this it's called the Highlands Ability Test, or Highlands Ability Battery Test, where originally it was literally an 8-hour or 9-hour intelligence test. They've now truncated it down. I think it's a 3-hour test.
Oh, wow.
And I took that test, and it was through that process that ultimately helped me realize this. That, because when you do the test, you get coaching with it. It's a really cool tool. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing. The takeaway is like, you could get really good at something. Like one of my coaches was saying, he was like a financial analyst. He's like, I got really, really good at it, but I was just so drained. And I realized that I got good at something that wasn't my natural thing, which is why it took so much energy, as opposed to when we find the thing that really is our thing,
Inherent
it energizes us.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yes. Well, I think you have found that with Hacked.
Yeah, definitely.
You are such a gem. Like you were the whole reason why that is possible. And I would love for you to tell us exactly how that sort of came to fruition. I think, Renee, you probably have a question to get us started.
How did it happen?
Yeah.
Renee,
Yeah.
what do you want to know?
The cat is going through the screen.
He just loves when I record a podcast. He wants to be in every episode, always. I mean, just to kind of kick off really what this episode is about, we really want to dive into optimizing fitness for a better life.
Yeah.
Right. I know you're an expert in this topic. We want to really ask you a lot of questions, but to kick this off, there's a quote on your website that says, "Be able to be as strong as possible, as powerful as possible, to accomplish whatever it is that we want to accomplish, achieve all of our heart's desires, and make the most of our life." So we know that's really what Hacked is all about. And you know that we're huge fans, right? As soon as I came to New York, I had to come see Hacked. I couldn't wait. And I'm sure I will be there every time I come back to visit. So how does this kind of all come in together? The quote with what,
like fitness,
optimizing fitness and Hacked.
Yeah, it's also interesting because there was a period of time, because I was a personal trainer and I was doing that, and there was a period of time that I thought I wasn't going to go back to doing physical fitness and coaching people in physical fitness, because the things that I discovered is, when it comes to really achieving our best and brightest life, in some ways the physical stuff's the easiest, not for everybody. And that's not meant to be judgmental, but in terms of, finding a coach who can work with you and get your body in shape, that's where I started, and I got in really good shape. And I was like, oh, that didn't solve all my problems. Like there's a lot more work to do. Our mindset and then the things that are getting in the way of our mindset, tend to be the more important work and the harder work. But the thing about Hacked and the way that Hacked ended up coming together and how this fits in with fitness and optimizing fitness for a better life, it's like, most people in our society, part of the human condition is that we focus on the outside in, because that's how we're wired. We're wired for survival. And so we're conditioned to be looking outside of ourselves and then looking back at ourselves kind of from the outside in. And so fitness is this really amazing entry point where, most people are aware of a desire around physical fitness, and they may not yet have started to play around with, goals and desires around mindset and mental health, and not really sure where to start with that. And then, of course, what I call spiritual strength or inner strength, that's a lot more nebulous. But the thing about physical fitness is it's an amazing entry point. And so what I realized as I was going through this myself and discovering that there was this smarter, faster way to be physically fit and optimize fitness, that more people pay attention and more people come. Like when I was running my parenting program, it's hard to get people's attention, and especially parents are super, super busy. Like, it's not an easy juggling act to be a parent. Yeah. And so it's hard to get people's attention. Physical fitness gets people's attention. And so people come in, and then depending on their openness, some people just want to do physical fitness. And it's like, all right, cool, we'll do that. But then you have this opportunity to sneak in the mental piece of physical fitness. And then once you're looking at the mental piece of physical fitness, it's like, well, why am I having such a hard time with the mental piece? What's underneath that? And so it turned out to be this very natural entry point, from physical optimization, fitness optimization to life optimization, because you can't separate it out anyway. And so all of this kind of just came through meditation, to be honest. And my deep desire to share the fun toys I was playing with, because I was like, this is so cool. I can't be the only person that's excited about them. They're the greatest toys ever. Yeah, but like honestly, I didn't even, and I couldn't have realized at the time how this was going to all fit together, literally with everything that I've done up to this point. And so the physical fitness, even if that's the only thing that we feel like we can even start to even think about, because let's be honest, like the mindset stuff and our heart set, our inner strength, our inner energy, whatever you want to call it, that stuff can be really tricky and really painful to even go near. And so all of us, just by starting wherever we can, physical fitness is like, all right, you know what? I may not be able to like heal my relationship with my mother right now, but I can go to the gym. I can go get a workout, and that makes me feel better that I did this thing for myself. And so Hacked can meet people wherever they are. And by prioritizing the physical fitness, we can then kind of sneak in and start to open some gateways to the other stuff too that is integral to life optimization. Is that a good, I know it's like all over the place, but does that answer the question?
Mind, body, and spirit.
Yes.
Yeah, because the reality I think we all embrace is that you can't disconnect physical health, mental health, and we could say heart health or energy health. There's so many of these words are so tricky. Words are just labels for things, and they're always imperfect. And so I always encourage people, it's just a word. If a word doesn't resonate with you, if a word kind of triggers something in you that feels like a negative connotation, just notice that and be open anyway to what the meaning underneath the word that the person's trying to convey actually is, because it's just a word. Like someone in today at Hacked, they're like, yeah, because I'm talking about a branding and marketing project that we're doing at Hacked where we may change the name. Like, I don't know. Like I'm a pretty open, go with the flow kind of girl.
Yeah, but other people are very attached to it, I'm sure already.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's polarizing because again, humans get attached. But, a lot of people have a negative connotation with the word hack or hacked
Yes.
because it
Yes,
seems like a
definitely.
shortcut. It seems like we're talking about some sort of shortcut that undermines the integrity of the process. And that is not what we're doing at Hacked, right?
Yes.
Biohacking is not about a shortcut. Biohacking is about fundamentally having a much deeper integrity in the process that gets better, more efficient, personalized results, right? And so that seems something that we can convey in our marketing and convey, in our team, communications, but it's all just things that to think about. And it's certainly important. I mean, you guys are the biohacking babes. I'm sure you talk about all this all the time, that it's like, this isn't about shortcuts. This is just about better paths. We're still going to work really, really hard.
Right.
We're not trying to get out of work and find some lazy, shoot that we're going to be able to pull a trigger and not have to, eat healthy and not have to take good care of ourselves and not have to be mindful of the people that we choose to spend time with. No. That's not what biohacking is.
It's a different type of work because I think our culture really welcomes and gives an easy opportunity for fitness because that's what people need and are familiar with. But hopefully the mindset stuff, the spiritual awakening, I think is coming pretty quickly, but it's not as accessible at the moment. So I love that you sort of draw people in with this amazing tech. And I would love for you to go through the tech that you use there. But would you say that it's you and your team that really bridges that gap between the fitness and the mindset stuff?
Yeah. And it's so interesting the way that it's flourished organically. We do a lot of breath work at Hacked now. I had no visibility ahead of the time that was going to be a core component of what we do at Hacked.
Yeah, amazing.
It fits perfectly. And I'm a yogi. I went to yoga school, so I do have background in breath work, and I use breath work. But then one day we had a client come in to use some of the cool tech. And he was amazing. I'm like, what's your story? And he's like, well, I almost died and I've been using breath to, and these biohacking tools to heal myself. And here I am. And I'm like, well, that's cool. You want to breathe me sometime? And he was like, yeah. And so we did a remote breath session. I was like, all right, well, that just changed my life. So I want you, when you're in New York next time, to offer this to the community at Hacked. And it just naturally grew into this totally could never have anticipated. And that's one of the core foundations now at Hacked is the breath work.
Yeah.
So again, it's like,
but being open to that opportunity and possibility.
Tech is kind of the sexy, cool, and it's real. It's not, and that's the thing, Sage, the guy who does the breath work, I mean, he was relying on that technology to heal what really should still be something that he shouldn't be here from. And so, the stuff that we have at Hacked is really powerful. In that way, again, I didn't anticipate any of this because I opened Hacked as a fitness facility, right, for people that were healthy. Yeah. I did not know. I did not know, nor could I have anticipated, because when you don't know, you just don't know, how the tools that we have at Hacked are so integral for rehabilitation and healing. If there is something that physically we're dealing with, mentally we're dealing with, then energetically we're dealing with. So all this stuff, I look back and I laugh. I laugh a lot because I just think everything is so funny, but I'm really into this.
That's important. You have to laugh.
Yeah, playful energy is really powerful when it comes to creativity. But, I look back and it's like, wow, this co-creative force that has my back that I'm dancing with as I have these, insights and inspiration ideas that then kind of resonate in my heart and then somehow get down in my bones. And then I just have to do it or I feel like I'm going to die. That's kind of how Hacked felt. It didn't feel good. Amazing. I was terrified. Earlier when you were talking about being brave. Yeah, I'm terrified most of the time. And then I breathe and I settle in and I'm like, okay, cool. What's it teaching me? But I never could have anticipated the way things were going to blossom. It's just oh, wait, this is a totally different thing than I thought that I was doing. And so it started around this fitness concept because I'm super into physical strength. And I was like, oh man, the ARX and you can just achieve
just feels so good.
So good. I'm a pretty intense person, as you guys can tell. And it feels so good to have these really safe, but really intense physical workouts that then you can see all the data and you can track. And so that's what inspired me to open Hacked. And it's turned out to be a much bigger, more beautiful thing than I could have ever imagined.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Well, so just explain to our audience about ARX and maybe the Carol bike.
Yeah.
We post about it on our Instagram all the time, but I would love to hear your official pitch about what it does and why it's so amazing.
It's so cool.
Yeah. The sexy tech.
The sexy tech. It is sexy. I mean, tech, all of this new stuff that humanity's figuring out is pretty freaking cool. So basically, the ARX was the real reason why I started hacked, as I said, it gives you the opportunity to have this effective minimum dose, like real max exertion level strength training workout in a very safe way because it's adaptive resistance. And so, as I know both of you experience, the machine is moving whether you participate or not. It's up to you how much you resist it on the lowering phase and then how much you work with it on the lifting phase. And we can lower a lot more weight than we can lift. This machine allows us to do that in real time, moment to moment. So we get the perfect drop set. And then it ends up being a mental trainer as much as it's a physical trainer because you're going to be out of your comfort zone. And it's just a question of how far out of your comfort zone your working zone can be. And the working zone is defined as, and I love to quote people like where this comes from, and I can't remember who it is, so forgive me. But there was someone brilliant who describes this working zone. It wasn't me. That it's the area where you can stay consistent out of your comfort zone without self-sabotage. And so our nervous system, when we're out of our comfort zone, will kick in and will sabotage us if we get too uncomfortable. And so it's like, all right, can you keep expanding that working zone? How uncomfortable can you be and stay in it? And so that's part of what the ARX allows us to do, which again, when I got the ARX, I didn't anticipate that because I was like that naturally. Yeah. And I hadn't ever gotten to train other people on the ARX. So it was actually somewhat, I'll be honest, of a huge surprise that there were people, unlike me, that were like, what are you doing to me, crazy lady? And I was like, yes. Oh, I should take it a little slower. It's pretty amazing. I should take it a tad slower. Not everyone has this intensity around life where you're like, I don't care how uncomfortable I am. I'm doing it. I'm staying in it.
But you're such an amazing motivator. I've watched you coach people through the ARX, and it's just such a beautiful, inspiring, positive experience.
Sneak in all my other stuff, like the mindset stuff and the spiritual
stuff.
It's
very sneaky. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's sneaky. It's like because I'm a mom, it's like you sneak the spinach in the smoothie.
Oh,
and they don't realize that this is not like, oh, why is my vanilla smoothie so green? When they're little, they don't know. They just think vanilla smoothies are green.
You're getting the fun and the nutrients at the same time.
Yeah. So, I mean, the ARX, the fact that you then have a graph, right? So you can see how hard you worked last time. And one of our taglines is data don't lie, even though technically it does because nothing is perfect in tech world, right? We've had machines fail and I'm like, you can't trust the data today. And it's like humbling because you're like, probably not the best tagline. But in theory, it's a good tagline. And the point of it is your brain will tell you one thing. We've all experienced this. Our brain will give us reports about the nature of reality. And we really need to be discerning how much of what our brain is reporting to us we want to believe. And so having a graph where you have real-time feedback and you can see in real time how you're doing, it's really, really powerful because it shows you when your brain is not giving you the full story and that we're so much stronger than we think we are. And it starts to expand what we believe is possible in other areas of our life too. So there's all these I could not have imagined because again, originally it was just me using the ARX and I just loved it. And then getting to coach people on it, it became this amazing tool for transformation that I honestly couldn't have anticipated, all in one 20-minute strength training workshop.
Yeah, something you can't get in a group fitness class or working with a trainer. You don't see that, and so you never know the possibility, right?
Yeah,
and the volume of work is incredible.
Yeah, and it was something that I could never have anticipated. I was like, oh, well, this is cool. And then it makes you think out of the box from a training perspective, because for people that are struggling, staying consistent in that working zone, then we can start talking about like cold therapy. Other ways of practicing distress tolerance, right? Doing anything that sucks makes you stronger. Mm-hmm. So how do we practice being in the suck and breathing through it, staying in it, and knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel? There's a great train analogy somewhere about like when you're going through something hard in life, you can think about it like a train moving through a tunnel. And you know that at some point, no matter how long the tunnel is, even if you can't see the light at the other end right now because you're behind a couple twists and turns, you're moving through a tunnel and there absolutely is light at the end of it because there's seasons for everything. And so it's just a great analogy for all areas of life, distress tolerance skills. So when I was at the behavioral therapy-based company, I learned all about these behavioral therapy techniques, which again, who would have anticipated would then, support me in this other future work.
At a gym.
But behavioral therapy goes hand in hand because sometimes we don't feel like doing the thing, right? Like we don't feel like going to the gym.
We don't.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when behavioral therapy techniques become so critical, because you still got to do it. And so then you have to have tools in your toolbox to do the thing you don't want to do when you don't want to do it, even when you really, really, really don't want to do it. So that's behavioral therapy. But behavioral therapy alone, without addressing, well, what is that feeling in the first place? Why is that there? Can I get that to soften? Can I get that to shift? So next time I'm in this exact same experience, I feel differently. I'm not as constricted. I'm more open. I'm more flowing. I'm more brave. I'm more gracious. So all this stuff, it's like, it goes so hand in hand. And again, I never could have anticipated all this from a strength training workout, but that's the ARX in a nutshell. It's really bizarre. It's not just physical strength. It's also mental strength training, which then kind of opens a window into deeper work that we have the capacity to address with things maybe like breathwork. And we can do HRV training with breath and all these different things to show us that we're in control of a lot more than we think we are. Our brain makes us think that we're out of control of some things, and our brain makes us think that we can control some things, both of which are wrong. Like there's plenty of things that our brain thinks that we can control, and it really convinces us we can control because it keeps us feeling safe. And unfortunately, that is a fallacy, because ultimately we can't control these things. And ultimately, when it comes to our physical body, we are all going to die, and we all ultimately are not safe in that respect. But then it tricks us, making us think that things are out of our control, like how we feel. And we try to blame other people, blame external circumstances. Actually, one of the biggest shifts is when we start to own our feelings, loving them for whatever they are. Like we want to validate, oh yeah, I am feeling scared right now. I am feeling angry. Oh, I'm feeling 18 things at once. Let me take a moment to untangle what those things are. And then saying, I'm feeling this. I can't control how I'm feeling. I can control how I'm being and what I'm doing. And that is really, really cool, because then suddenly we have something to do that is a really productive area of work that changes everything.
Yeah.
All that from a strength training workout. Who
so
knew?
much to show up for.
How
I
could you
know.
imagine?
I hope that everyone that's listening is just, their mind is being blown, because you thought we were talking about fitness. It is so much more.
But that's the thing. Like, do you know Mark Atkinson, the psychological fitness certification? He does a lot with Dave Asprey and Bulletproof and Upgrade Labs, all of which I love and I encourage everyone to check out. I've been working with Mark. And his program is so good. The psychological fitness program is a really, really good program. And I love using the term fitness when we're talking about more than just our body, because it's just capacity for work, right? Capacity to show up and be the best version of yourself. And so to talk about, physical fitness, psychological fitness, energetic fitness, you can look at it in these different kind of layers of density, that we've got this dense body, and then our mind is more subtle, and then our feelings, our emotions, and then our spiritual states are the most subtle of what we can really perceive and work with. Emotional intelligence and then spiritual intelligence are really important things to take a look at. And this is all wrapped up in HACT, because it's holistic fitness is what the name of the game is.
Yeah. So for someone that has not experienced the ARX,
do it.
How do we start? And if you don't have access to it, what is sort of another entryway to get this whole expansion that you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a product called the X3 that you can kind of get at home that uses resistance bands. It's great if you're an advanced fitness person, because it requires you to have really good form and be really aware of muscle activation, because you could technically do wonky things while you're under this intense resistance and get hurt. So if someone isn't kind of an experienced fitness person, definitely check out the X3. Otherwise work with a personal trainer and do that body by science protocol, which is, let's identify what 85% of my 1 rep max is. And then let's try to hold that amount of strength for a minute, 30, minute, 45 seconds through as much of a continuous long range of motion, really slow and heavy. And it's hard. And I encourage people to do it with a trainer for the first time, because they want to make sure you're in good form and you're not doing something wonky, that your 1 rep max is a real accurate, safe 1 rep max. Because you can recreate some of these protocols. It's just totally different than the ARX, because if you're dealing with not adaptive resistance, just kind of steady state resistance, it's going to be a different experience. Then I would encourage you to do those heavy weightlifting, regimens, either safely with a trainer or on your own, and then do other forms of distress tolerance, do the cold plunge and breathe through to the cold showers. I mean, everyone has access to a cold shower.
A shower, yeah.
And so take cold showers and breathe through it. Like, what has to happen for me just to stay in here, for me to get past that fight or flight reflex and like stay in it? Because that's ultimately what you're doing on the ARX. You can do that part in a cold shower and do the strength training in another way. So there's a lot of ways to, solve for this. And then, and working with trainers and coaches, I highly recommend. I always have at least 4 coaches at any given time in different areas of my life, because having a coach who can be on the other side and see what you can't see in that moment is of paramount importance to help us, really level up in a safe way. It's just highly recommend having coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. It's just a lot less messy if you have a coach, and you're not, and then
you
you're like,
never know where it will take you if you have someone
and then
else.
you have a friend, you make new friends. Every coach I've ever had, I'm like, lifelong friend.
I love that.
But so that's just the strength training.
I get like a nutrition coach sometimes. People are like,
that's
why would
what you
need a
do, but
nutrition coach? You know everything. I'm like, I don't know everything.
Clearly.
But just having someone from the outside looking in, it's
okay, have you thought about this? Have you noticed that? And it's like, oh, no, I didn't. Because when you're so close to something, it's harder to see the big picture. And, if you have someone on the other side, there was a great analogy someone gave once about, it's like you're in the bottle and there's a label on the bottle, but you can only read the label from the outside in. You can't see the label from the inside out. And so having a coach who's standing on the outside in and be like, oh, this is what's going on. Then you're like, oh, I get it. Okay, I'm 33% whatever. Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, never would have known that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another great analogy.
I love analogies because it helps, crystallize something that otherwise is pretty abstract. And
absolutely.
And
especially, all the biohacking stuff can seem really abstract. So I love that you're bringing it down to everyone's level. It's amazing. Yeah. So we always like to ask on the podcast, who is this for? And you have already naturally answered a lot of our questions. But Pam actually only works out, correct me if I'm wrong, 20 minutes 3 times a week.
A little less than that. So it usually cumulatively is about 40 minutes a week total.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that really works for your lifestyle. As a mom, you live upstate and then you come into the city to work and you look incredible.
Thank you.
We'll share photos of her because she just is glowing from the inside out. Your body looks phenomenal. But so explain, is this for everyone? It obviously is working amazingly for you.
Yeah. So I think that it's for everyone to try, right? It's for everyone to try, depending on where you're starting. And there's a process where if we're trying to build muscle mass, if we're trying to change our body composition, it really depends on the goal. So you're going to want to tweak things slightly. If you're going through a phase where you're trying to change your body composition, lower the amount of body fat that you have and increase the amount of body of muscle that you have on your body, there's a process where everybody's different because obviously everybody's different and metabolisms are different. When because there was a period of time when I had to lose about 40 plus pounds. So I don't know if you know this, but I was overweight. After I had my second child, I had a lot of weight to lose. I gained a lot of weight in that first kind of period of being a mom with 2 little ones and didn't realize it. And there was a period of time when I was losing the weight and I hadn't yet really stabilized the fat loss to then build the muscle. I was in like a caloric deficit to change my overall weight and burn the fat. It's harder to build muscle during that phase. And so you have to be patient and you want to be choosing exercise routines that will help you maintain muscle while you're burning fat. And so if you do too much cardio and not enough strength training and you're not eating the right ratio of macronutrients, right? And everybody's different. How much protein is the right amount for you?
Absolutely.
A lot of this is trial and error, which is why I love the data don't lie, because we really want to use as much data as possible to fine tune things.
The biohacking component.
Yeah, because your body is different and there are ways that we can track all this stuff. But the easiest way is just have a hypothesis and then test it and track your results. Like it's actually, it feels overwhelming, but you can kind of take a low tech approach to just devise like, all right, for the next 6 to 8 weeks, this is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to see what happens. And then I'm going to tweak the strategy a little bit. Not too much because you want to own and love the process. And 6 to 8 weeks isn't the be all end all. But you want to be tracking it and then make sure you're tracking the right things, body composition, not just weight, because obviously weight, you could stay the same weight, but you lost a lot of inches, but you're building muscle while you're losing fat and muscle weighs more, of course. And so all of these things you tweak. But the point is there's this old paradigm around exercising to burn calories, which a lot of people still either consciously or subconsciously believe to be true. And it's not true, because if we exercise to burn calories, we're putting extra stress and strain on our body at the end of the day. We want to exercise to fine tune the systems in our body. So we want to really be mindful about that goal. And then our nutrition is about finding the right ratio of macro and micronutrition depending on our goals. And so that it's a long answer, but at the end of the day, 40 minutes a week is enough if you're eating the right way and if you're tracking your sleep and your stress. And then if there are other things going on that are impacting your metabolism, so if you've got some hormone imbalances, if you've got some other systemic stuff going on, you'll see it because you'll see the data results of the workouts, and then you're not getting the body results that one would expect based on the amount of work, based on the total macro nutrition that you're consuming. So then you know to look deeper, because our bodies are so complicated, and there's a lot of reasons why we hold on to weight. If our body thinks that it's not safe, the body will not release weight.
Right.
And so for
Protective mechanism.
it's a protective mechanism, and we can say that there's something wonky in our hormones. It's not a one size fits all on any stretch, but we want to just be asking ourselves, like, if you're holding on to weight and you're having trouble losing it, we want our body to feel safe. And what does that mean? That our body feels safe to just thrive, and it doesn't feel like it needs to hold on to something to stay safe. And so 40 minutes a week is enough. And if you're not getting those results, that's when you kind of go deeper and you look, and let's make sure you go see the doctor and you get your hormones tested, and all this stuff goes hand in hand, and meditating and dealing with stress. And yes.
But showing up and wanting to do that work, because it is a lot of work. It's not just clocking in time at the gym, right? It's saying, I want to accept this opportunity. I want to track. And we talk a lot about the quantification and the data on the show. So I'm so glad you talked about that.
Yeah.
Because Eric's does that. And I know you have an Aura Ring. Aura Ring users.
It is work. And it's when we say the word work, what I like to think of is just being comfortable being uncomfortable.
It's a really hard thing for people to do.
Really hard thing. It's such a deep mindset shift, right? When we can say, you know what? I'm going to prioritize getting comfortable being uncomfortable and loving that feeling of being uncomfortable, because it means I'm growing.
Yes.
So I've reframed that. So now the instant that I feel uncomfortable, I've literally rewired my brain. So I instantly feel grateful. It took me a bunch of years.
Yeah, it takes
practicing, oh, this sucks. Think of something that makes me feel grateful. And you're literally neuroplasticity, rewiring your brain. So something sucks, I feel gratitude. I don't even have to do anything anymore. It's just, I've repaved my brain. And so I was like, oh, this is horrible. Why do I feel so grateful suddenly? It's like, it's not conscious. It's a subconscious neural pathway that I've wired in. Like, this sucks, I feel grateful. But then you have that power to look for solutions, right? And so all this stuff, got a million tricks up my sleeve, but it really is good.
I love that you said you repaved your brain. It's just like a brand new highway. It's just easy sailing.
That's real. And it takes practice, and everybody's different how long it takes to rewire certain connections, but the brain cells that fire together wire together. So we can do this. Yeah. We can literally rewire ourselves. And in the beginning, I wore bracelets. I wrote things on my arm and my hands. I used to joke that I still do. I just ordered temporary tattoos of roses, because one of the things I'm playing with now is that whenever I'm with someone who's triggered, I picture a rose between me and them. It's something Mark Atkinson taught me, and it changes the dynamic so amazingly, like magic. And so now I just always need to remember rose whenever someone is triggered, and then I feel their energy, because I'm pretty empathetic. Like, I feel people's energy, and so then I feel it, and now I just remember rose, and that kind of creates this energetic force field where I can be loving and not compromise the integrity of my own space, my own energy. And so I use those tricks. Like, I okay, how am I going to learn a new habit? Because it's like having a new habit that then you don't even have to think about, because your brain does it subconsciously. Yeah. It's like ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. We could call that a hack. You said it's a trick, but in some ways it's a hack that seems like a shortcut, but it's a process.
It's a process. I invested consistent work.
Yeah.
Consistent work in the beginning. Yep.
A bracelet.
Yeah, show me.
It says presence.
Yay.
I love
to
that.
remind myself to be in the moment.
Be here now. Yeah. And it takes practice. And eventually,
It really
years
does.
later, you won't need that bracelet anymore. You'll need a temporary tattoo or whatever, like, because you'll get the presence down, and then it's something else and something else. And that's the thing. You just keep deepening the practice of whatever it is that's going to level you up. And if you're just committed to leveling up, you just keep going because the rewards are so good. It just gets better and better.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Pam, we always talk about how this makes you hotter or why this makes you hotter. And I think a lot of people would
I want to be hotter.
I know.
You are there, my friend.
Aww.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're learning from you now. Yeah, I think a lot of people would naturally link exercise and fitness with looking hotter, but you have taught us so much today that it's not just about the time in the gym, right? It's the whole mind, body, spirit. So maybe you can kind of speak to how all of that makes you hotter and why you don't need to spend 2 hours in the gym every day.
I mean, first of all, I know for a fact that being happy is the most important thing that we can wear to make ourselves more attractive.
Absolutely.
You know, and especially as someone who's in their 40s, you know, like I say, like, wah, wah, like I'm definitely over that hill when it comes to just being like, you know, a hot chick, right? Yeah. And it's kind of like, I'm a hot mom.
You're a hot chick.
But like, you know, it's just funny. I laugh because it's like you kind of just embrace the journey, which is aging, which is, all that. And definitely knowing that I will always be prettiest, most beautiful, most attractive, hottest when I'm happy and when I'm kind, when I'm warm, right? And it makes perfect sense that we're hottest when we're warm, when we're putting out those warm, happy vibes. Right. And so that if you unpack that and go deeper, it's like, all right, well, what has to happen for me to be happy and warm? Because that's vulnerable, right? Like to be warm, you know, when people walk in, like people walk in to hack, like Lauren, you walk in, you are freaking radiant and super smart, and on Broadway, right? Aww. Younger Pam, less mature Pam would have been really threatened. Right. And it's not like my mind doesn't still have those pings of, well, what does this mean about your worth? What does this mean about, you know, your value and whether you know, really are meant to be an expert in this area or what? It's not like your mind doesn't still have those echoes of insecurities, right? I've just become very discerning, just being like, shut the fuck up. Like, that is not, because it's not real.
It's not real.
That's lower level egoic illusion. It's just illusion.
Testing us. Yeah. It's giving us an opportunity to choose one or the other.
Yeah. And if we're aware of it, we can feel that that's not real. And then we can not choose that thought. We can choose a different thought like, oh my gosh, how lucky am I that this beautiful, radiant person wants to come and hang out here sometimes. And like, oh, I get to learn from them and I get to hang out with them and laugh with them and like share in their light. Like what a blessing, right? So the mindset stuff, as soon as you peel back that layer around being happy and being able to be warm and vulnerable, I mean, the mindset stuff is freaking huge. You know, and it helps that I know I am a badass. Like I am not the best at anything, but who is, right? One of my mantras that I started a bunch of years ago with like tongue in cheek, right, is even on my worst day, I'm awesome. Like no matter what I just screwed up, no matter what I just dropped, no matter how inferior I may look or feel in the moment, in the circumstance, in the environment, because we all find ourselves in environments where we're objectively learning. We're growing. We are not the best in the room. We're not the smartest in the room. We're not the brightest. We're not the prettiest. We're not the most talented. We're all going to find ourselves in those moments, which is awesome because we're uncomfortable and we're growing, right? And so all of this goes so hand in hand with showing up, knowing that even in those moments, I am freaking awesome. I've got so much to offer. Like I may not be a young 20-something, 30-something hot chick. I'm a hot 40-something badass mom, business owner that can provide skills and expertise and wisdom in other ways, right? Like I know I'm a badass. And so knowing that you're a badass and like actually showing up and doing the work to be a badass, which is when you go back to going on the ARX. When you're on the ARX, you feel like a freaking badass because you are working.
Absolutely.
And when you're on the Carol, which we didn't get to talk about, but you're getting chased by the tiger and you're hitting crazy power numbers and you're upping your cardiovascular fitness in only 20 seconds. It is an intense 20 seconds twice, right? There's no doubt that you are a badass.
Yeah.
And then you look
Nothing
at yourself
and
in the
no
mirror.
one's stopping you.
You're like, well, listen, I'm 40 and like, yeah, the skin is a little, I had 2 babies. So like, you know, when I move in certain directions, there's things I don't really like, but I'm like, I'm freaking hot. I'm a badass.
Yes.
If someone wants to be with me and whatever, I mean, obviously I'm married, so my husband wants to be with me, hopefully. But it's like you have this inner glow that is real, earned, warranted. Like I'm not saying just be in an ego state and say that I'm awesome even when you're messing stuff up. You got to own your stuff. And I know that I do that. When I mess up, I'm like, hey, that was me. I'm growing. You know, ask for grace and I own it. Like I don't blame. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm not in a victim mentality and I'm not in a hero mentality either. Hero is when you're owning your own journey, right? The hero's journey, but it's still about you. And you evolve where you're being of service. So it's not about you. And like, I know that I'm a lover. I know I love people. I know my heart is big and my wings are spread wide and I'm brave and I'm showing up. So all of this is what makes me hot. You know, it's like it's a different kind of hot than when I was 20 and it's a different kind of hot than when I was 30 and it's going to be a different kind of hot when I'm 50, but I'm going to be hot when I'm 50 and I'm going to be hot when I'm 60. I think I'm going to be freaking hot when I'm 80. It's going to be different. Yeah. There's going to be wrinkles and sags, but there's going to be that sparkle in my eye and that smile is still going to be there. I may have like fake teeth. I have no idea
about that.
but no, like that hotness, that warmth, that security, that knowing that you have something to offer the world that's intrinsic that only you can bring, and you're not looking from validation outside in, but you know from the inside out that you've got these core sets of values and you're showing up as that every day, even if the outcome kind of sucked, because it's not always going to be a home run. You may strike out 3 times, but you know you're going to get up to bat again tomorrow. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes you hot.
Yeah, I love that. You don't need the validation.
No,
it's
I'm
you
a
just
badass.
knowing.
I'm a
Doesn't
badass.
matter what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, I'm a badass of kindness and wisdom. Like in my family, we talk a lot about the trifecta of bravery, wisdom, and compassion. And those are the 3 things. I'm like, I'm a badass at bravery. I'm a badass at compassion. And I'm a badass at wisdom because I'm always looking for the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how inconvenient. I'm leveling up, I'm learning, and then I'm reflecting that back.
That's incredible.
That's
beautiful.
hot.
Speechless.
Oh my gosh, I know, right?
We all want to be a little bit more of that. Exactly
and we all
that.
can be.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's just practice being that and faking it. Like even when you're not feeling it, like, oh my God, I don't feel brave. Since I'm like, I told you, I'm going through some stuff right now at work. I'm like shaking. I was shaking a couple days ago and I'm still just breathing. And I'm like, well, I don't feel brave, but I'm going to be brave. And that's when behavioral therapy comes in. Because even when you don't feel like doing it, you do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
making
so
that
important.
choice. Unbelievable.
Well, Pam, I think you're a badass biohacker babe.
Oh, thank you. I want like a
absolutely
badge. I'm going to say that. Yeah, I'm a badass biohacker babe. I'm going to say that.
We're going to get you a badge.
I want a freaking badge. Yeah, you guys should get badges. But like, I'm such like a child. I'm a 5-year-old.
You will be the first.
Yeah, but seriously, I'm like a 5-year-old. I'm like, I want a freaking gold star. And I will wear my badge. Like, I'm going to feel even more badass if I've got a badass biohackers babe.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, we're
like,
getting it for you. No question.
Yes.
All right,
In
we'll
the
work
club.
on that. Yeah.
So we just have a few minutes left. I just want to sneak in one more question, which honestly we diverted to a beautiful place, which is a much better
Let's go
path.
back.
But we always talk about debate and controversy as well on the show. And I think there's this idea like people love to work out because they get the endorphin rush. It's like community-minded. It's a social thing. And also it's a checklist thing. So what would you say to the people that want to participate in sort of the biohacking, the tech, the ARX, Carol, but also just love getting
working.
that hour?
Yeah, and that's great. And when I say because this is a conversation I have all the time, and this was and is me, like that's great. If you can fit that into your week and it lights you up, go do it. Be with your friends, go to SoulCycle, go to Barry's, go whatever, like, Rumble, whatever you love, do it. as long as you're making sure that fundamentally underneath that activity, because most of those classes I like to think of more as activities as opposed to exercise, because a lot of those classes don't really have the fundamental integrity that I like to see in a physical fitness program. Like knock on wood, we've opened at Hacked for over a year and we haven't had a single injury. And that's like really, really important to me.
Amazing.
We all know that berries and whatever, it's just, you have to be much more mindful, but go do that. And if you have the community piece, like CrossFit, like go do that. Community is super important. There are other ways that we can find community, but if that's your way, freaking do it, right?
Like it Hacked, honestly. That is one of the greatest places to hang out.
Yeah, I mean, Hacked has its own community.
So,
You're not working out together. You're more like, hey, what do you do? And like, oh my God, you're amazing. I'm like, I know, right? And so you just like meet amazing people at Hacked. But community, we need to have community in our life, and that's also one of the core foundations at Hacked. But in terms of the endorphins, right? If you do like a 60-minute like intense thing, your brain chemistry shifts from that. You get a little bit of that from Hacked. It's different. Yeah. What I say to people is, listen, if you're at a place in your life where you need to optimize, look at the other things in your life that are those fundamental resources for those positive endorphins. Quality time with people you love. Building your legacy, right? Like a lot of us have a book in us or have a business idea in us or have some creative project in us. For whatever reason, we haven't done it. Do it. Don't not do it because you're working out 5 days a week for 5 hours, right? Because pushing through the suck of creating that project, best endorphins ever, right? Quality time with family and friends. I mean, you guys are sisters and you do this together. Having that quality connection releases mad endorphins. Hugging people, smiling. Like there's a lot of really, really positive other ways to get the endorphins that maybe will have better results when you look at the holistic kind of full wheel spectrum of your life. But maybe not. And like everybody's got to find their own path. So to me, I'm like, if it sparks joy and it's working for you when you look at your holistic kind of life wheel, like really being honest about the different buckets of things that are important in your life, friends and family and your own self-care and your career and your finances and, your legacy, like those kind of things. Look at it and whatever feels in balance to you, you do you. Part of Hacked's core mission is to give the power back to the people. It's like you have the best wisdom about what's going to be your path and what's going to work for you any given day. So learn to listen to that, learn to follow through, then learn to see if it works. Like be a scientist in your own life. Does it get the results that I want? Does it feel right? And if it feels right, do it. And if something doesn't quite feel right, try to tweak it. But it's all good.
That's exactly what we say is our definition of being a biohacker, is asking the right questions and being truthful with yourself.
Which is tricky.
It's so tricky, but
it's
so powerful. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah, another podcast day.
I know. We could talk for hours and hours.
I love you guys. You're the best.
Renee, you want to jump in?
Well, yeah, before we let you run, you have shared so much wisdom already, but when people end this episode, what is one thing that you think they should go and do or change? If they just had to pick one thing to start with.
Yeah, one thing that literally everyone has access to that can be the biggest profound transformation in our lives is to pay attention to our breath. I learned that years ago when I went to yoga school, and it blew my mind. Like literally, I was like, how can I be 30-something and just learning about the cycle of the breath now? That on the inhale, it does one thing to our brain chemistry and our body chemistry. The pause between the inhale and the exhale, different chemistry. The exhale, different. That pause between the exhale and the inhale, different. We have our breath with us all the time, and it's this connection to some deeper power, right? Like to our chemistry. Let's just say it's a hack for our brain chemistry. We have it with us all the time. It always works. When people say it doesn't, it's because they're not doing it. They're resisting. And the whole point of the inhale, breathe in, you open and expand. When you exhale, you release and let go. And so to remember that and practice being aware of your breath, because if you're aware of your breath, you're going to be aware of other things as well. And being aware means that you're not asleep and on autopilot. It means you can take control of your choices, change the routine, change the habits. So just start paying attention to your breath, playing with it. Don't take my word for it. Do it. There's a whole bunch of tricks that you can do. Like if I were to ask you, Lauren, right now, what you had for breakfast yesterday, I'm certain you would take like, oh, you did it. You did like,
Yeah.
You breathed in, because it's when we breathe in that we access our mental capacity. And so that's the thinking. If you hold your breath, that's overthinking.
Yeah.
Which will increase anger and increase resentment, increase judgment, right? Resistance.
So breathe
the
through.
exhale, you let go. And then it's crazy because the pause between the exhale and the inhale, hanging out there, is where we find compassion. And so you can use a circle breath, a triangle breath, a square breath. It's just game changing. And we all have access to it. It's free. The amount of free resources online to learn this stuff and practice this stuff. That's the biggest takeaway. Game
Unreal.
changer.
That is so
Amazing.
great.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope everyone can take that home. And
It's a biohack.
it is. I have felt that I've been breathing a little bit more deeply, just being in your presence and making eye contact with you. You've been smiling like ear to ear this whole time. I think you're like tapping into my Cancer astrology. Like I'm on the verge of tears because you just are exuding so much
well, tears
joy.
are good.
It's amazing.
Tears are someone told me this morning. I'd never heard it, that crying is motoring. And I guess what that term is supposed to mean is that you're moving through, old gunked up energy, old patterns of grieving, right? That we have this old grief that's in us, this old pain that's in us that we're realizing was never true. Right? It was never true that we were ever alone. It was never true that we were separate. It was never true that people don't get us and that we're not good enough. Like that was never true. What was always been true is that just by being, not trying, just being, we're enough. And we make people smile. Like you guys are making me smile just by being you. You don't have to try.
Yeah.
Just by being who you are, you make me smile. So I'm smiling.
Amazing.
Oh,
We're
I'm a softie.
so happy to have had you on here today. This is really incredible.
I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. Look at
I
Renee
wish you could.
smiling
I
so
wish I
much
could
now
give you
too.
a big hug right now.
All right,
Hug
we're
through
just going to
Zoom.
do
Zoom hug.
a
Give you a
Zoom
virtual
hug.
hug.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so if you're in New York, definitely go and check out Hacked. We will send some resources, including Pam's books that she's written, the website where you can find her, lots of information. She is a force. You have to meet her if you can in person. I hope you really enjoyed this episode, and send us any questions that you have.
You guys rock. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Oh my gosh, of course. You guys are delightful. I'm so glad you're out in the world doing your work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Love this episode of the Biohacker Babes podcast? Head over to Apple Podcasts to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We truly appreciate your support.
Until then, happy biohacking.